Hey everybody, it's Ken McElroy. I'm with my good friend Scott Harkey. Scott's got an incredible company, Owens Harkey, and they are one of the 100 fastest growing companies in the nation. They're certainly number one in Arizona for ad agency. Thanks, Scott. I always love your wisdom. We're going to chat a bit about marketing and advertising. And so one of the things that I've noticed is you've got kind of old school ad and new, and there's a lot of confusion with this old print stuff and they're trying to lock you in on these long contracts and then you've got all this new stuff and I don't think people really understand how to use it.
Sure. It can be daunting. There's so much ad tech out there. There's so many new channels and new things. And first of all, any tactic can work. I like billboards. Billboards work great for the right person, the right time, the right message. Print, I'm not a big fan of. It's obviously, dying in terms of media consumption for print, but print can still work. So it's finding out, what works for you and sticking with it. And what a lot of people do is they change so fast. Like, this isn't working, that isn't working. My friends in the tech business, when Google was, Google's still hot, but when search engine marketing was such a big thing, and still is today. I read a stat the other day that 50% of the consideration set of people that are looking at brands are going to go to Google and they're going to search it and they're going to search everything about it. People are more educated than ever about making decisions. But for a long time, my friends were really good at I'm going to be the top of Google and I'm going to get this SEO ranking. And they tricked the system. They did really well. They sold a lot of product and it was great. It was like this big cocaine high of getting a ton of customers in right away. And they tricked Google and then they're doing PPC and they could spend $3 and get $10 back. And they had the perfect formula. And then Google switched the algorithm. They were screwed. And then the coming down off the cocaine was like a reality of crap, we have no customers that love us. We sold some stuff, but we have no longevity. We have no brand advocates. And we're sitting here now, what do we do? And then they're on to the next thing. And now it's influencers are a big deal now. Influencers are huge. Great. Will influencers be huge in 5 years? I don't know. They're big now, so maybe capitalize on it now. But it's not the latest and greatest tactic in terms of media consumption. Media consumption will continue to change, but if you mean something to people, that will last forever. And I think people miss that a lot. Certainly the media market, and I love media. I used to sell media. I grew up, I was 20 years old at ASU. I sold radio ads. That's how I got my start. Is I would write radio commercials on a crappy, low-rated radio station, but they were good commercials. They inspired people to buy my station that no one had ever heard of. It's still about having a good message, and if you have a good message, then any tactic can work. So in today's marketplace, I see a big mistake that people make is they try to do everything. I need to be on Facebook, I need to be on Twitter, I need to be on Instagram, I need to be on LinkedIn, I need to be doing billboards, I need to do print, I need email CRM. You're going to run out of money as an entrepreneur, especially in early stage, if you're trying to do everything. So I tell people all the time, do a few things really, really well. Don't do everything. And research your customers or your future customers of what platforms are they on, and then own that. If you're a B2B company, own LinkedIn. Do an amazing job at LinkedIn. Own content, own conferences. Direct selling works too. I think there's a stigma. I speak to a lot of colleges. I think there's a stigma today among some young people that selling is old school. And I don't want to sell. I don't want to be known as a salesperson. That's bullshit. Everything is sales. Everything. It's not marketing. No, it's sales at the end of the day. But if you're really good, it's marketing. Even good salespeople aren't salespeople, they're marketing people. But that stigma of sales just really bugs me because you got to sell product.
I love that. So what happens, what I found is that, a lot of companies like yours or smaller ones are always saying, hey, I can increase your SEO. It's all about SEO. Let's get you above the fold, I guess, or, let's get you on that first page. What would you say to that, call it that business is trying to figure that out? What are, it sounds to me like you're saying, hey, open the heart. Let's do more of a, be authentic on who you are and take a long-term approach, right?
Correct. Look at companies that sell for a lot of money. They're brands. Brands are worth money. Direct response companies, those infomercials that were popular a few years ago, you think those companies sold for any money? You think they got, 10x on sales? No, they didn't get crap because they're not doing anything. There's no longevity. It's addition. Addition's fun. I like multiplication a lot better, and brands produce multiplication. If you talk to startup tech brands in San Francisco, I think one of the main reasons that most of the major tech companies in this country have come from basically one market, San Francisco. The reason is they understand the power of brand. In San Francisco, tech companies, all they talk about is moat. What moat means is they're basically building a moat around their brand. And the way you build a moat around your brand, you do it like Airbnb has done, where you make it so loved, they're doing so many good things culturally, they're doing good things for society that they've built this moat around their brand that's untouchable. Uber hasn't really done a good job with this, right? Which is why there's some exposure for Uber. Tesla and the things that he's done, it's more from a brand standpoint, you're like, I like that guy. He's doing stuff, right? And it inspires you. And so I think people get really caught up into how they can make money on the latest and greatest tactic. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. You can do well with that. I'm not saying that shouldn't be part of your strategy, but I'm saying it shouldn't be the only strategy. And don't wear yourself thin on trying to do everything because you're going to run out of money. You can't be on every platform. There's too many.
Right. The other thing that I find is that a lot of times when things are tight, people pull back on marketing.
Correct.
Yeah. So I can't believe that. I mean, I was once in that mindset. I got to be honest with you.
100%.
You know, as you're growing, and you got people, and your sales are down, and all that kind of stuff. You're saying, oh, I can do this on my own. What would you say to that person?
Well, certainly as business people and as entrepreneurs, we the good ones, we run our business by the numbers, right? And you have to, otherwise you got a business all the time. And so, great CFOs, even good disciplined business people, they think you can cut your way into profitability. And typically the first thing that's cut is marketing. And I think that's a huge, huge mistake. If you look at great companies, they actually double down when the economy's bad into marketing and they grow market share. And so cutting your way into profitability by taking money out of marketing is a huge mistake in my opinion. But I believe in looking at your industry and figuring out, okay, CPG brands spend 15% on marketing. Casino brands are spending 15, 20% on marketing. Top line, I mean, big numbers. So if you look at your industry, what's an aggressive number for marketing and put it in there? The problem that people have with this is it's scary and it's not quantifiable. Right. People want to quantify everything. And I'm sorry, there's some things that you can't, marketing and emotions you can't quantify, especially the best marketing is going to be bold and somewhat risky, right? I mean, bold and risky is a fine line. And so, first of all, dedicating the resources that's an aggressive number for your industry and having a formula and a number. I agree. You have to have a marketing budget and stick to it, but there's going to be some things in your marketing budget that will work and some things that won't. But in my opinion, by sticking with it and learning through that and being bold in your creative messaging, will help stand the test of time. And you've seen the reason I reference so many big brands is because people can wrap their head around that strategy and see how it's worked for big brands. But it can work for smaller entrepreneurs too. It has worked. So, I mean, you got to stick to the plan, and your CFOs and your accounting people are great people. Your lawyers are great people, but sometimes you got to go against the lawyers. Sometimes you got to go with your gut against the finance people if you have a bold strategy.
100% agree. So you're saying 10 to 20% potentially.
Yeah, depending on your industry.
And just make it so. But okay, so let's say you do that. Let's say you say, okay, we're going to dedicate 20%, and no one can talk me out of that.
Yes.
How do you deploy that money best?
Sure. It all comes down to knowing your customer, of course, right? And there's really expensive ways to know your customers, like focus groups and surveys and expensive research. I mean, I think our firm subscribes to hundreds of thousands of dollars of syndicated research. We do one-on-one research. But you know what else you can do? You can actually go grab a camera and talk to people. Right? It's not hard to see what people are posting on Facebook. It's not hard to see trends. It's not hard to grab a camera and talk to people who buy your customers. I'm amazed at how many times people make decisions like they're the customer, but you're not buying your own product. Somebody else is, and all you have to do is talk to them and talk to them a lot and find out what makes them tick, find out what platforms they're on. If you're targeting women 35, 54 and you're a dude who's 25, like you need to go talk to people, not only women who are 35, 54, but people who've been early adopters of your product. Where do they shop? What do they watch on television? What do they watch on social media? What are their online habits? You can do this in a very expensive, very detailed manner, which the big brands do, or you can simplify it based on what your resources and budget is. But if you're not dialed in at a deep, intimate level with people who should be brand aligned with your customer, and you're just making stuff up based on your own opinions, then you're going to get fried.
Well, then you're wasting that 20%.
100%.
So you're saying get to know your customer and then target your money.
Yeah, 100%. And you can ask them what platforms they're on. Are they on Pinterest? Okay, then have an aggressive Pinterest strategy. Are they on LinkedIn? Have an aggressive LinkedIn strategy. Do they love content and blogs? They'll have an aggressive strategy there. Maybe it's none of that. Maybe it's all trade shows. Maybe it's direct selling. Maybe it's doing something, none of those. Maybe it's some crazy stunt that will resonate with them. But just know all of it's not going to work. Probably half of it's going to work, half of it's not, and be okay with that, and then make adjustments as it goes on. But don't, there's so many people like, oh, that didn't work or this didn't work, and so I'm done with marketing. Marketing just doesn't work. And it's like, no, your strategy just didn't work.
Right. No, I agree with you. I think that's what happens is people spend a bunch of money and they go, oh, that didn't work, and so this doesn't work, right?
Correct.
And then they try something different and they cut it out.
Test and optimize, test and optimize, test and optimize. I mean, the greatest strategy doesn't win. It's a really good strategy and a flexible strategy. So being willing to admit you're wrong in strategy and change directions, especially on the tactics side. But give it enough time to have the frequency. So you want a frequency for your target customer. I want a frequency between 7 and 15 times. I want your target consumer, let's say you're going to target 5,000 people in your demographic. Well, those 5,000 people need to see your message and content in your brand about 15 times before you can make an evaluation on whether your messaging's working or your media tactics working. So don't put one ad on Facebook. Do a Facebook strategy for 6 months and get some frequency behind it, messaging, and maybe it's little tweaks. Maybe you find that the font just isn't the right font, or the colors, or maybe it's your entire message, but making those tweaks constantly, not throwing, as they say, the baby out with the bathwater, but little minor tweaks that you can stay on your game and just optimize that campaign over time.
That's really, really good advice. The other thing that I was thinking of as you were talking was, I actually like to try stuff because then I know, okay, let's don't do that. Let's don't do this. And so that's part of the process. I think a lot of people focus on only what works, but I think being able to know what doesn't work is power.
So I actually try to convince almost all of our clients to have a percentage of your total budget for what I call NBDs. NBDs are what I call never been done. So if you can budget in never been dones, if you have investors, if you have other people, it first of all sets expectations that this is a total test. It also allows you to be really bold in that strategy, and it allows you to learn because you're from the front of it knowing that this is a total learning lesson. And then you can hit home runs. So I did an NBD. We did a stunt to get in front of Airbnb. It cost me about $40,000 to do the stunt for a meeting with Airbnb. Not only did we get the meeting with Airbnb, but we created 40 million impressions on the internet and created a viral video. We won a gold advertising award, one of the biggest awards you can get. And it was an amazing experience because we went way out there. We went way out of our comfort zone.
Well, you have to know what you did.
So we put it, and we can send this out, but we did a thing called Jonathan Calls Scott. Jonathan was the chief marketing officer at Airbnb. They were looking for a new advertising agency. We did a stunt where we locked our junior copywriter in our office for 24 hours. And we brought in all this. We put the office. It was my old office. We put it on Airbnb as a office in Phoenix for rent with our junior copywriter. And this guy's like a stand-up comedian, just hilarious guy. And we brought all these people and brought food and dances. And it was crazy. It was Looney Tunes in there. But then the news media picked it up. I mean, local TV stations like, what the hell are you guys doing? Then we targeted Jonathan on the internet and everyone that worked for Airbnb, that we have a live stream on Facebook called Jonathan Calls Scott. Check this out. They were amazed. They couldn't, and we have this 3-minute video that explains it. It blew people's mind. First of all, I think the words Jonathan used were when he reached out to us on Twitter were, "You have massive balls for doing this." And we're like, thank you. Anyway, I met with Jonathan up at the Airbnb office, and they were inspired that we did this. And this cost us real money. I mean, this cost us $30,000, $40,000. I had 25 people working for 24 straight hours to produce this live stream. And we got more views than we've ever got for our agency in one day. We got 40 million people to tune in to some stupid stunt we put on Facebook. Why? People were inspired that we just had the guts to do this, number one. And number two, it was great content. It was weird, right? I mean, it's like cat video, weird news story about someone getting hurt that scares the crap out of me. What? They locked some dude in an office. They're trying to get a meeting with Airbnb. Like, what is this? There's people dancing around, and it was cool. And it's the dumbest thing we've ever done, and it's been the best thing we've ever done. And it's because we've budgeted in and we believe in NBDs. Now, the next one we do, which we will do a next one, it might fail, and that's fine. It will learn. But the one that will hit, it'll have huge upside. But even the ones that don't hit, you'll learn a ton.
What did that teach your company?
It taught us that you always think you're being creative and you think you're being bold, but until you're really pushing the limits, are you? And then what it did was it gave us a reputation for being bold and being creative because we couldn't find a company to do this kind of crazy work. So we did it ourselves as our own marketing company, doing a campaign for ourselves, which is not really, people don't really do that in our industry, right? It's a stodgy kind of industry, even though it's a creative industry. And we were like, screw it. Let's do something crazy that we're going to have fun with. And so the other thing it taught us is the camaraderie of our team. It inspired them because we were doing something that everyone got behind. It wasn't like, we got to stay up all night. It was fun.
It worked.
It worked. Yeah. And we went into it not knowing that it would work.
Right.
That's the best thing is when you go into something with vulnerability.
So it was different. You had fun and it worked.
It worked. It was vulnerable. And people were like, damn, even the other ad agencies in the market were like, I can't believe you guys came over that. That's pretty cool. I hate you guys. I'm going to compete with you here very soon on this next piece of business, but that was pretty cool.
And your employees are like, yeah, we did that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it was company morale. It was we got a meeting with a huge client. We won awards. We still use it as a case study. I mean, but we would have never did that if we were conservative, if we didn't budget in. I mean, who wants to spend $40,000, $40,000 hard cash, not alone the time, probably $100,000 in time on something that shouldn't work, that's probably not going to work. That's kind of dumb. Your CFO would slap you around.
For one meeting.
Yeah, for one meeting.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Okay, so thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what's one piece of advice you would give every entrepreneur about marketing and advertising, something they could do like the next day?
Yeah. So I think we all have different skill sets as entrepreneurs. We have strengths and weaknesses. If you're a marketing person and you have that and you're a creative marketing person, go bold. Go as bold as you can. You can't go bold enough. There's too much stuff going on. If you're not, and you're more of a business person, be willing to admit that and find some good people that you can trust to do some stuff that will be bold, that will be creative, that will be strategic in that world. For me, I'm good at the creative side. I'm good at the sales side. I'm good at the marketing side. That's just what I'm really good at. The business side I've had to learn. The finance side I've had to learn. So what did I do? I brought amazing finance people, amazing business people. I mean, I hired a CEO to run my own company because I knew I needed that. So finding out and being honest with yourself of what you're really good at and what you're not, and be willing to bring in people and bring in partners and bring in advice from marketing people and to do that is such a big thing. And it's hard to do as entrepreneurs because we all think we're the smartest people in the room.
But I always remember the quote, like, nobody remembers anybody with good behavior.
No, 100%. Right? Especially today, and the big brands are starting to see it, and it's scaring the shit out of them. Honestly, the big brands are scared to death.
They have to be.
Oh, dude, because they don't want to do this. They can't have, imagine the type of work Nike had.
Liability, right? They're always talking about liability all the time.
Yeah, and entrepreneurs, what liability? I've got nothing. I've got everything I have.
I'm trying to eat.
Yeah, exactly. It's like liability. I'm ramen or ramen. So you have no risk. I mean, you're playing with house money. You don't need to fold when you have nothing. When you have no chips on the table, you go in and be willing to find people who think this way. There's lots of great marketing creative people. You can pick their brain the same way. I just think it's weird that, in the finance and accounting and the legal world, we're fine with hiring experts and we're fine with getting opinions and getting better at that. But then marketing, we all become the smartest people in the room because we've seen a TV ad and we think we know marketing, and you don't. It's technical stuff. Like there's really good people who have worked decades to understand this craft, and people think they all kind of know it because they've seen it, and it's deeper than that. And so if you have to find some good people to help you in that regard, do it and be okay with that. The same way you were an accountant and a lawyer. I know it sounds a little biased coming from me, but it's true.
It is true. Hey, thanks, buddy.
Yeah,
You're the best. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Good to be here.
Yeah.